Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Diriye. Nashtiprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, today we are starting new chapter, chapter 73rd. Lord Krishna blesses the liberated kings. Text 1 to 6 onwards. Shri Shukuvacha, Ayute Dve Shatanyashtu, Niruddha Yudhi Nirjita, Te Nirgata Giri Dronyam, Malina Malvasasa, Shutuk Shama, Shushka Vadana, Sanrodh Parikarshita, Dadrushuste Ghanashamam, Pita Kosheya Vasasam, Shrivatsankam Chaturbaham, Padma Garbharule Shanam, Charu Prasanna Vadanam, Sfuran Makar Kundalam, Padma Hastam Gadashanka, Rathangar Upalakshitam, Kiritahara Kataka, Kati Sutrangadanchitam, Bhrajad Varmani Grivam, Nivitam Vanamalaya, Pibant Eva Chakshurabhyam, Lihant Eva Jivya, Jagrant Eva Nasabhyam, Rambhanta Eva Bahubhi, Praner Muhut Papmano, Murdbhi Padyor Hare. Shukdev Goswami said, Jarasandh had defeated 20,800 kings in combat and thrown them into prison. As these kings emerged from the Giridroni fortress, they appeared dirty and shabbily dressed. They were emaciated by hunger, their faces were dried up, and they were greatly weakened by their long imprisonment. The kings then beheld the Lord before them. His complexion was dark blue, like the color of a cloud, and he wore a yellow silk garment. He was distinguished by the Shrivatsa mark on his chest, his four mighty arms. So he showed them the Vishnu form. The pinkish hue of his eyes, which resembled the whorl of a lotus, his lovely, cheerful face, his gleaming makar earrings, and the lotus club, conch shell, and disc in his hands. A helmet, a jeweled necklace, a golden belt, and golden bracelets and armlets decorated his form, and on his neck he wore both the brilliant, precious kaustubh gem and a garland of forest flowers. The kings seemed to drink his beauty with their eyes, lick him with their tongues, relish his fragrance with their nostrils, and embrace him with their arms. Their past sins now eradicated, the kings all bowed down to Lord Hari, placing their heads at his feet. Krishna Sandarshanalada Dvasta Sarro Dhanklamaha Prashashansa Sur Hrishikesham Girbhi Pranjaleo Nripaha. The ecstasy of beholding Lord Krishna having dispelled the weariness of their imprisonment, the kings stood with joined palms and offered words of praise to that supreme master of the senses. Rajanuchu Namaste Deva Devesha Prapannarti Haravyaya Prapannan Pahina Krishna Nirvinnan Ghor Samsrite. The king said, obeisances to you, O Lord of the ruling demigods, O destroyer of your surrendered devotees' distress. Since we have surrendered to you, O inexhaustible Krishna, please save us from this terrible material life, which has made us so despondent. Nanam natha nusuyamu magadam madhusudana anugraho yadbhavato yaragyam rajya achyutar vibhu. O Master Madhusudan, we do not blame this king of Magad, since it is actually by your mercy that kings fall from their royal position, O Almighty Lord. It is significant that upon seeing Lord Krishna thus becoming purified of their sins, the kings did not feel any mundane hatred or bitterness towards Jarasandha, who had imprisoned them. Simply by seeing Lord Krishna, the kings came to the position of Krishna consciousness, and spoke these verses, which show deep spiritual wisdom. So they're saying that it's your mercy that kings fall from their royal position. Very important thing for us to learn. I mean, we are always ready to blame others for anything that happens to us. But the kings, I mean, they were in that cave or in that prison house for such a long time, and by mercy of Krishna, they were freed. Now they're saying, "Oh, it wasn't Jarasandh. We don't blame Jarasandh. It's all your mercy." Rajeshwaryam madonnaddo nashrayo vindate nripa tvanmaya mohito anitya manyate sampado achalaha. Infatuated with his opulence and ruling power, a king loses self-restraint and cannot obtain his true welfare. Thus, bewildered by illusory energy, he imagines his temporary assets to be permanent. The word unnad indicates that one who is intoxicated by false pride goes beyond the boundaries of proper behavior. Human life is meant to be governed by dharma, spiritual practices for gradual advancement to the perfection of Krishna consciousness. Blinded by wealth and power, however, a foolish person does not hesitate to act whimsically against the laws of nature and God. So, but this is happening everywhere. Kali Yuga is when we lose all spiritual sense and we just get puffed up for nothing. We have nothing compared to these kings, but still we get puffed up. So what will happen to us? Mrigatrishnam yatha bala manyanto udakashayam evam vaikarikim vayam ayukta vastu chakshate. Oh, just as men of childish intelligence consider a mirage in the desert to be pond of water, so those who are irrational look upon the illusory transformations of Maya as substantial. And this is why Krishna says, if you don't give up the attachment, it will be taken away at the time of death anyway. Vayambura Shrimad Nashtadrishtayo Jagishayasya Itare Taraspridha Ananta Praja Swa Ati Nirgrana Prabho Mrityum Purastva Viganaya Durmadaha Ta Eva Krishnadya Gabhira Ramhasa Durante Virena Vichalita Shvya Kalin Danva Bhavato Anukampiya Vinashta Darapash Charano Smaramate. Previously blinded by the intoxication of riches, we wanted to conquer this earth, and thus we fought one another to achieve victory, mercilessly harassing our own subjects. We arrogantly disregarded you, O Lord, who stood before us as death. But now, O Krishna, that powerful form of yours called time, moving mysteriously and irresistibly, has deprived us of our opulences. Now that you have mercifully destroyed our pride, we beg simply to remember your lotus feet. So this is real mercy of Krishna, that he gave them Krishna consciousness. Atho no rajyam mrigatrishni rupitam dehena shashvat patata rujam bhava upasitavyam sprihiyamahe vibho kriya phalam pretya cha karna rochanam. Never again will we hanker for a mirage-like kingdom, a kingdom that must be slavishly served by this mortal body, which is simply a source of disease and suffering and which is declining at every moment. Nor, O my Almighty Lord, will we hanker to enjoy the heavenly fruits of pious work in next life, since the promise of such rewards is simply an empty enticement for the ears. Very, very nice realizations the kings had. We don't want anything. One must work very hard to maintain a kingdom of political sovereignty, and yet the body which works so hard to maintain one's political power is itself doomed. At every moment, the mortal body moves towards death, And all along the way, the body is subject to many painful diseases. The whole affair of mundane power is thus a waste of time for the pure soul who needs to revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. But most of the time, people don't know what is the goal. The goal is make money, more and more money. Because it's sweeter than honey to have money. But that's not the goal. It will be all taken away. And the body is losing its strength, its vitality anyway, with every passing of the day. Even if somebody has tons and tons of money, what is he going to do with it? So wastage, just complete wastage of time and energy. Tamna samadhishopayam yenate charnavajehu smritiretha na virameda api sansartam iha. Please tell us how we may constantly remember your lotus feet, though we continue in the cycle of birth and death in this world. So they are asking how we can remember, because this is the most important thing to achieve, is constantly always remember Krishna's lotus feet or his name, his form. That's all. That's all we need to do. And purport says, well, such remembrance is easy method to obtain spiritual liberation. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to obtain, Osana Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. The words Api Sansaratam Iha indicate that the kings were approaching Lord Krishna, not merely for liberation, because they said, we don't care. We may continue in the cycle of birth and death, but we want to just remember your lotus feet. Such constant remembrance is a symptom of love, and love of Godhead is the actual goal of life. So Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranataklesha Govindaya Namo Namaha. Again and again we offer our obeisances unto Lord Krishna, Hari, the son of Vasudeva. The Supreme Soul, Govinda, vanquishes the suffering of all who surrender to him. Shri Shukuvacha Sanstuya Manu Bhagavan Rajabhir Mukta Bandhane Tanaha Karuna Stata Sharanya Shlakshaniya Gira. Shukdev Goswami said, thus the kings, now freed from bondage, glorified the Supreme Lord. Then, my dear Parikshit, that merciful bestower of shelter spoke to them in a gentle voice. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Adya Prabhriti Vo Bhupa Mayatmanya Khileshware Sudrara Jayate Bhaktir Balama Shansitam Tatha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, from now on, my dear kings, you will have firm devotion to me, the Supreme Self, and the Lord of all that be. I assure you this will come to pass just as you desire. So he gave them benediction of bhakti, that you will have firm devotion to me. Dishtya Vevasitam Bhupa Bhavantarit Bhashina Shriya Shwarya Madhunaham Pashya Unamadakam Nranam. Fortunately, you have come to the proper conclusion, my dear kings, and what you have spoken is true. I can see that human beings' lack of self-restraint, which arises from the intoxication with opulence and power, simply leads to madness. And actually makes one mad, and he does crazy things if the power and position and opulence goes into his hands. Hayo Nahusho Venu Ravano Narko Pare Shri Madad Brahmshita Sanan Deva Datya Nareshwara. Hayo Nahusha Vena Ravan Narak and many other rulers of demigods, men and demons fell down from their elevated positions because of infatuation with material opulence. So, as described by Sridhar Swami, because Haha stole the desired cow of Lord Parshuram's father, Jamdagni, Parshuram killed him. and his impudent sons. Nahusha became puffed up when he temporarily assumed the post of Indra. When out of pride, Nahusha ordered some Brahmins to carry him in a palanquin to an illicit meeting with Lord Indra's chaste wife Shachi. The Brahmins made him fall down from his position and become a snake. King Vena was similarly mad, and when he insulted the Brahmins, they killed him by loud incantations of the syllable Om. Ravan was a famous ruler of the Rakshasas, but out of lust he kidnapped Mother Sita, and thus her husband, Lord Ramchandra, killed him. Narakasura was a ruler of the Daityas who dared to steal Mother Aditi's earrings, and for his offense he was also killed. Thus, throughout history, powerful leaders have fallen from their positions because they became intoxicated with their so-called opulence. And because of opulence, they commit offenses. And that's where the problem is. Bhavant etad vigyaya dehadutpadyamantvat mam yajanto adhavare yukta raja dharmena rakshata. Understanding that this material body and everything connected with it have a beginning and an end. Worship me by Vedic sacrifices, and with clear intelligence protect your subjects in accordance with the principles of religion. Santanvanta prajatantun dukkham sukham dukkham bhavam bhavo praptam cha sevanto machitta vicharishyatha. As you live your lives, begetting generations of progeny and encountering happiness and distress, birth and death, always keep your minds fixed on me. Udasinascha dehadava atma rama dhritavrita maya veshya mana samyak mamante brahmayasyatha. Be detached from the body and everything connected to it. Remaining self-satisfied, steadfastly keep your vows while concentrating your minds fully on me. In this way, you will ultimately attain me, the supreme absolute truth. Shishukavacha iti adishya nirpan krishnam bhagwan bhumneshvara tesham nyo yungta purushan striyo majjan karmani. Shukdev Goswami said, having thus instructed the kings, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Master of all the worlds, engaged male and female servants in bathing and grooming the kings. Saparyam karyam asa sahadevena bharata naradevo chittar vastrar bhushna srag vilepanaha. O descendant of Bharat, the Lord then had King Sahadeva honor them with offerings of clothing, jewelry, garlands, and sandalwood paste, all suitable for royalty. Bhojitva varannena susnatan samalankritan bhogascha vividhar yuktam stambuladhyar nripochitaha. After they had been properly bathed and adorned, Lord Krishna saw to it that they dined on excellent food. He also presented them with various items befitting the pleasure of kings, such as betel nut. So the kings, Kshatriyas, they have to have all this to show that they are Kshatriyas, they're the rulers, they're the administrators. Te pujita mukundena rajano mushtakundala virejurmochita klesha pravridante yatha greha. Honored by Lord Mukunda and freed from tribulation, the kings shone splendidly, their earrings gleaming just as moon and other celestial bodies shine brilliantly in the sky at the end of the rainy season. Rathan sadashvan aropya manikanchan bhushitan prinanya sunritar vakya swadeshan pratyayapayat. Then the Lord arranged for the kings to be seated on chariots drawn by fine horses and adorned with jewels and gold. And pleasing them with gracious words, he sent them off to their own kingdoms. So he didn't, Krishna or Bhimsen, they didn't take over the kingdom of Jarasandha. They made Sahadev, and then Sahadev, all these imprisoned kings, he sent them off to their respective kingdoms. So means he gave them back all their kingdoms. Evam mochitakrishrat krishnena su mahatmana yayustameva dhyayanta kritani cha jagatpate. Thus liberated from all difficulties by Krishna, the greatest of personalities, the kings departed. And as they went, they thought only of him, the Lord of the universe, and of his wonderful deeds. Jagatu prakriti mahapurusha cheshtitam yathanvashasad bhagavans tatha chakrur tantrita. The kings told their ministers and other associates what the personality of God had done, and then they diligently carried out the orders he had imparted to them, which was take care of the praja properly and think of me. That's all. Jarasandam ghatitva bhimasenena keshava parthabhyam samyuta praya sahadevena pujita. Having arranged for Bhimsen to kill Jarasandha, Lord Keshav accepted worship from King Sahadev and departed with the two sons of Pritha, means Arjun and Bhim. Gatvate Khandav Prastham Shankhan Dadmur Jitaraya Arshayanta Sasurido Duhridam Cha Sukhavaha. When they arrived at Indraprastha, the victorious heroes blew their conch shells, bringing joy to their well-wishing friends and sorrow to their enemies. So there were so many enemies, especially the party of Duryodhana and his brothers. Shakuni, Karna, they were enemy, and they were envious. So it didn't bring joy to their hearts. And of course, they were in Hastinapur, but not in Indraprastha. But there might be some other enemies in Indraprastha also. Tata Shrutva Prithamanas Indraprastha Nivasina Menire Magadham Shantam Raja Chapta Manoratha. The residents of Indraprastha were very pleased to hear that sound, for they understood that now the king of Magad had been put to rest. King Yudhishthira felt that his desires were now fulfilled. Abhivandyat Rajanam Bhimarjun Janardana Sarvam Ashravayam Chakrur Atmana Yadanushtitam. Bhima, Arjun and Janardhan offered their respects to the king, King Yudhishthira, and informed him fully about what they had done. Nishamya Dharma Rajas Tatta Keshve Nanu Kampitam Anandashru Kalam Munchan Premna Nobacha Kinchana. Upon hearing their account of the great favor Lord Keshav had mercifully shown him, King Dharmaraj shed tears of ecstasy. He felt such love that he could not say anything. So thus ends the purpose to 10th canto, 73rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna Blesses the Liberated Kings. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, so you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.